This episode brought to you by Bear Spray Unlimited. Are you always left waiting for your big boy at the bar? Wish you had a nice big brown bear to snuggle up with? All the bears are going to attack you with Bear Spray Unlimited. We have devised a special formula of hormones, sex smells, and mace that will bring all the big bears to your backyard. And for those who prefer a little less squashing in the bedroom, we also offer otter traps. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, an opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hanson, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible, and glue glue bam bam to you all.
Glue glue bam bam.
Glue glue bam bam. We will go into glue glue bam bam here in just a minute. I'm David Day.
I'm Bryce Hanson.
And you guys should check us out over at our website, horrormovietalk.com. From there, you can find links to most of our social media. I went to experiment with it, and I found that we don't have an icon for TikTok. The most important of...
Yeah, I tried... The app that, or the plugin that I use for social media icons, it doesn't have TikTok.
Does not surprise me.
And I think somehow I put in, what was the icon? I think I found one for Reddit and got it to work.
Yeah.
There's ways to add it, but I can't remember how I did it.
Don't worry about it. Our TikTok offerings are fairly minimal. But you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. Check out our subreddit, r/horror movie talk. Also, our YouTube channel. If our episodes don't populate in like Spotify or something like that, if you're really jonesing for your normal episode, you can always find... our latest episode on our YouTube account, and I set them to post around 10 a.m., but I'll probably make them a little bit earlier than that. So we do post new episodes every single Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe and leave a rating on Apple Podcast. That would help us out a lot. That's like our main goal. So if you guys really want to help us out, just hop on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating. You don't have to leave a review or anything like that. Just give us the stars. That's all you got to do. And we would appreciate you very much for that. We got a great show for you today. We will be talking about Backcountry, which is a movie that our patrons voted on for this month's patron not exclusive. This is their choice of movie that we're going to review. We review one movie per month for our patrons, and they chose this for you. And I'm kind of glad they did.
Yeah. And also, if you want to get in on the voting action, become a patron.
Yeah.
This one, I can't remember who. I think it was Brad. Kept saying that he wanted to see this one, or was it Brad?
I don't think it was Brad.
Someone was saying that like they definitely wanted us to review this one after we did The Ritual.
Yeah,
and I think they gave the caveat of it's not the best movie, but they'd be really interested in what we'd have to say.
Yeah, no, I think you will be interested in what we have to say, because I at least have I know I have some interesting takes on this. Before we get into, well, actually, I'll do the lead in and then we'll get into Glue Glue Bam Bam. Today, as I said, we'll be talking about Backcountry. We start out every episode by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge where it makes you angry you had to watch it, 5 being an average film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good that it transcends genre boundaries. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film, and later in this episode, we will be doing perennial favorite taglines. So glue glue bam bam, Bryce.
So we're not doing the comments from our comment section on the horror movie talk.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that while doing the write up for this. That's right. And now I'm remembering what you were saying.
Let's make it into a bit.
Yeah, into a later episode?
No, into this episode. We can do it real quick. We just need to open up the comment section.
Yeah, so for those of you
let's just go
who aren't web admins, there's at the end of this show, at the end of Taglines, we'll add a little bit where we read some of the comments that we receive at Horror Movie Talk. If you don't know this, you can comment on any post that we make on our website. So if you have, a hot take and you're like, you're wrong about American Psycho, it's a very bad movie, and here's why, you can hit us up on our American Psycho post and tell us that. But for the most part, that comment section belongs to Russian spam bots and Cialis commercials and just kind of spam, just general internet spam that you might see in the lowliest of dregs of a Yahoo email box or an MSN email box that's been forgotten for 4 or 5 years. And for the most part, we just say, no, you can't, we all have to approve all of our comments on all of these posts. So most of them don't make it through because most of them aren't real. But the other day, a not real one did come through that was so impressive to me that I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not posting it. But all it said was glue, glue, GLU, GLU, bam, bam. And it just blew me away. And I had to tell Bryce about it because that's all it said. It just said glue, glue, bam, bam. And I thought...
Not even an attempt to be like, Viagra hack Google buy.
Check out the size of your dick. It's like...
Or like, free... insurance quotes or something like that.
It's like none of that. No. It was just glue, glue, bam, bam.
Glue, glue, bam, bam.
I was like, damn, that is
posted by quotable. User website.
Yeah, user website. Man.
And I looked it up. I Googled it. I'm like, what could maybe there's like some thing or some slang in like an African country that this means something. Nothing return.
Maybe this is what they're going for. They're just like the meme the meme worth of their comment is so high that like
the only instances of glue glue bam bam were blog comments. That was just the same thing.
Glue glue bam bam.
So I almost wonder if the spammer is using that to be able to find their links easily so that they can do an exact search.
There you go.
For glue glue bam bam. So if we post that in our
then they'd know
content,
they'd be like,
if there's a transcript of our YouTube video, it just says glue glue bam bam. I'd be like, what? I didn't get that link. There's not even a link. What happened here?
You get all fucked up. Okay, so glue glue bam bam to you all. We've made a decision and we won't be doing user comments at the end of the show. We might do it at some other point. Okay. We'll see it.
You could just edit out the part that you said that we were going to do it.
Yeah, but I do want to talk about glue glue bam bam.
Well, yeah. Glue glue bam bam.
I'm not some sort of genius over here, Bryce. I'm just a podcast personality.
I think we'll just glue glue bam bam.
Okay, glue glue bam bam. We saw Backcountry on Netflix because that is where it lives, and it's an effective enough one-trick pony. I laughed and cried, and sometimes it wasn't ironic. So here is the trailer for Backcountry.
How am I doing?
Sure you want to know? Does your boyfriend always get his way? Yes.
Hello?
Hey!
You're ready to go. Your canoe will be right down there by the water. Need a map?
No, I know this part well. Bear spray. You're not gonna need it. I would be lucky to see anything bigger than a chipmunk.
Of course you're going that way.
This is the way.
Trying to turn me on right now?
Hello? Were you just walking by, or you invited me up for a chat?
I give Backcountry eco tours. You sure you don't need a guide?
I already have one.
You're a lucky man, Alex.
Why don't you fight him in the house next time?
I said I'm sorry. All good?
Yeah.
Alex,
I don't understand.
this can't be it, right? Can you look at me, please?
Just let me think. Just let me think. Let me think.
We don't have a map. We don't have a cell phone. We are in the middle of nowhere. What is that?
Oh, that's acorns. It's falling from the trees on a dam. That's not an acorn.
So, Backcountry is the story of a woodsy kind of guy named Alex, played by Jeff Roop, and his urban girlfriend, Jen, played by Missy Peregrine, who are heading into the woods for a late-season camping trip. This movie is directed and written by Adam McDonald. Early in the movie, we meet a park ranger, played by Nicholas Campbell, who warns the couple that they should probably bring a map and look out for inclement weather, like you heard in the trailer. But Alex don't need none of that shit. He's a man's man who knows these woods like the back of his country, back of his country, and he don't need no stinking map. But what he don't know, Bryce, what Alex don't know is
we can't stop here. This is Backcountry.
This is Backcountry.
Oh, you stole it from me.
You can't stop here.
Wait! We can't stop here. This is Backcountry.
Your clip is less concise than my clip. As the couple heads into the woods, they quickly end up with more camping trip than they bargained for. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Most of the movie left me scratching my head and rewinding to try and make sense of the dialogue or acting that didn't seem to fit the situation.
Yeah, there were several times where we're watching, you're like, what is going on?
What the fuck is happening right now?
It's just inserted movie tropes.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah, it was
like very rom-com-esque. Like,
it was
this is a
confusing.
problem now.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what? Why? Why don't you just do this thing that will solve that problem?
Just set it up a little bit. A little bit more than almost not at all.
Right.
Yeah, why are they worried about a single snap tree? Why didn't the movie make a point that a point of the tree before it was snapped to show that the audience that this is certainly out of place? These kinds of things. Lots of little details like this made the movie a little frustrating for me. Overall, though, I do appreciate the simplicity of this movie. It's also the simplicity of its premise and the stakes. It was fun to watch with a friend and plays on a very reliable fear of being alone in the woods at night. It is effective at what it does, I think, and for that, and I like. There is a point where a switch flips and shit gets real, and it's fun on both sides of that switch. It's just a little bit annoying, and so for that, I'm going a little bit better than average. I'm going for a 6. What do you think?
Yeah, every time we get to the score section, I realize like, oh, I have not put any thought to this movie. Sometimes, like, I think this is a 5. I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. It was perfectly average.
That's fair,
especially with I don't know. It's like it's a high 5.
Yeah, because
some of the writing was genuinely good. Like the interaction between the characters was good.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, an effort was made.
Yeah.
But also it's so the dilemma and the problems in the movie it felt so manufactured that you're like, this doesn't make sense, though.
Oh, really? It felt so basic to me. It felt believable because it was basic. Oh, by the way, we should mention, what you can't see in the trailer is this is based on a true story, people. People actually do get lost in the woods, and then, things happen to them after that.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. To me, it didn't feel manufactured. It just felt... I can see why you...
Well, I'm talking about, like, the rom-com logic of...
Yes.
All of a sudden, this is a very big problem. And you're like, but it's not, though. Just do this thing.
Yeah.
Do this thing that you like. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into spoilers. There's
emotions.
There's like 3 things that just stand out as, well, why? Those only exist because this is a movie.
Yeah.
Those problems only exist because this is a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's accurate. So with that, so I give it a 6. Bryce gives it a 5. You guys let us know what you think, either on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you want to hit us up at. For now, though, you guys should check us out on Patreon. You can get there by going to our website and clicking the button at the very top in the header. It says become a Patreon member or something like that. And from there, you can access a bunch of exclusive content. We have a whole podcast that if you look at last week, we released an extra episode. It's called American Psycho Afterpod or something, or Patreon exclusive, something like that. And that's just a little taste of the podcast that we do weekly for a certain tier of Patreon members. We have Spoopy, 2 Spoopy, 2 Spoopy for you. These are our Patreon tiers. 3 Spoopy, 5 me, etc.
Yeah.
And so you guys can support us and get access to a bunch of exclusive content, as well as, being able to vote on, what movie we review each month. You can also support the podcast by buying anything or renting any movie on Amazon if you click through the green button in the header of our website right next to that Patreon button. And that does help us out quite a bit. I would like to propose something to our listeners. If you run a business or a corporation and you have to order office supplies through Amazon, man, I'm telling you what, that could help us a lot.
Yeah, if you're like have a small business and you don't have an Amazon business account yet, click through on the button on our banner and set up a Amazon business account.
And then just buy a bunch of stuff, it'd be great. So all I'm saying is, I know you guys are out there, and just toss a little bit of a little bit something our way. Also, check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel, who is a professional artist who fucks hard. He also takes commissions for artwork from HMT fans. So you should really, if you haven't seen Dustin's work, it is... I cannot stop saying good things about this guy, because his intuition for comedy and horror is also just through the roof.
Right. He's the little touches that he does in the artwork is so great, and it really legitimizes our social media posts
so much. Yeah,
because it's a blessing. We love Dustin.
Yeah, check out.
And we should probably ask him how he would like to be promoted, because I don't know if I'd want to, be known introed as a professional artist who fucks hard.
I'd want to be known as anything that fucks hard.
I don't know. He hasn't said.
Okay. Well, yeah, Dustin, you let us know how you want to be,
let us know how you fuck.
Yeah. Is it
gentle?
Sometimes.
Is it considerate? He could be just like he's a professional artist who fucks very considerately.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, mostly it's just...
Looks you in the eye.
He's a tasteful fucker.
That is really super. How did a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
So make sure you contact him at DGOEBEL00. That's at DGobel00 on Instagram, and make your artistic dreams come true. Tell him HMT sent you. Also, I would like to mention a big shout out to probably one of our biggest fans, Stephen M., who comments pretty much on everything we do on Facebook. And for that, thank you very much, Stephen. We appreciate you. I had the most fun having a back and forth about American Psycho quotes with you last week. And so just thank you, and we see you, and we love you, buddy. So thanks again for listening, and let's get into spoilers. So this movie gets right into it, and that I appreciate very much. It doesn't waste a bunch of my time with setup or anything. It does a pretty good job of just being like, here's what it is.
I mean, there's not that much to set up.
No,
they're going on a camping trip. That's the setup.
But I appreciate it. They could have done all kinds of fucking flowery bullshit.
In fact, see, this is the problem, is that they set up so much and then kind of don't use it.
Go on.
The stuff that they do set up. So the major spoiler is there's a bear attack, right?
Yeah.
So
well, you can surmise that just from the Netflix tile. It's just a bear.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's a couple things that they set up that don't actually matter,
such as
that are red herrings. So they have to canoe into this island or whatever where the trail is.
Yeah.
And he immediately drops the canoe on his foot, and he's like, oh no.
Yeah.
I've hurt my foot.
That's a good point.
And it doesn't matter at all. Like,
well, and then they spend 10 more minutes on the foot throughout the movie.
Right.
They're like, oh, his foot hurts so bad, and then it's just like, that doesn't matter.
His hurt. We just wanted you to know that his foot hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of red herrings, or not even, or like
the Irish guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a true red herring. Like, that makes sense in the movie, that you think this is going to be a movie about one thing and it's a movie about something else. But the thing that got me, that just genuinely bothers me about this movie is they make a huge point of showing how prepared they are.
Yeah.
That he's like, they're meeting with the ranger, and the ranger's like, here, take this emergency kit with you or whatever. And they're like, emergency kit, okay, whatever. But they still take it.
Yeah.
And use it.
Yeah.
And then, it's got whistles.
Yeah.
The woods whistles. And then he's going through his girlfriend's backpack and mocking her for what she brought. And one of the things...
It's a flare.
One of them's a flare, and one of them's is bear spray.
Yeah.
So if you go camping, like, bear spray exists, but when you look through REI or Big Five or whatever, or wherever you're buying your camping, I don't even know if Big Five sells camping gear, but
I don't know if Big Five exists anymore.
If you go through the store and look at items you could bring on your backpacking trip, you look at bear spray and you're like, I mean, what are the odds? It is not worth the 10 ounces of weight.
Well, bear spray, this is something that that I've always deduced with bear sprays. Bear spray is not for bears. It's for people. Like, you don't want to have to, like, if you get into an altercation with a person, you don't want to hurt them with a knife. You just want to get away from them. And bear spray is perfect for that. You just spray them with bear spray. If this isn't just any person you come across, if someone is belligerent with you, which is my biggest fear.
Sure, but it's made for bears. It's right there on the can.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're thoroughly prepared specifically for a bear attack.
Yeah, I get it.
Not only are they prepared physically, but the fact that they brought the bear spray shows that they are mentally prepared. They gave forethought to a bear attack.
Yeah, but in the moment you freeze up. We're getting there. Don't worry.
Yeah, in the moment, but half of the movie is them like,
is there a bear following us?
Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of grunting and heavy breathing sounds around our tent, and sticks breaking like something very heavy is walking around. We passed this bear nest and saw a mangled corpse of a deer, and I'm really this is a real pickle. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but
I'm just a happy camper, rocking and a rolling.
They're just happy campers,
Yeah,
they're not ready to. I'm just a happy camper, rocking and a rolling.
So the fact that they're thoroughly prepared for this bear attack, and then when they're actually attacked by a bear,
Hey. We're too far down the rabbit hole. You're so excited to talk about how irritated you are about this bear attack.
Yeah.
So, as Bryce said, the Ranger is a good setup for Alex to be a dude who deserves what he gets. Because Alex gets to this Ranger station and he's like the macho dude, in front of his girlfriend. He's like, I don't need no map, bro. I don't need that. And the Ranger's like, are you sure? Like, watch out for inclement weather. Like,
Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
He's like, do you guys got raincoats? And he's like, yeah, obviously we have raincoats.
This entire episode is going to be American Psycho.
Yes, it is. So they canoe across. So Alex kind of, right from the start, he it's obvious that he's gonna get it. They canoe across the lake, and Alex immediately hurts himself, and he's like,
You see what God just did to us, man?
And his girlfriend's like,
God didn't do that. You did it. You're a fucking narcotics agent. I knew it.
Once we were pulling clips from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I knew I had to get, God didn't do that to us. I knew you were a fucking narcotics agent. Anyway, so they set up camp the first night, and Alex goes to find and chop some wood. During the time that he's gone from the campsite, Brad, a hunky man, who's played by Eric Balfour, who some people might remember from 6 Feet Under, or at least my wife remembers very fondly from 6 Feet Under. He meets with Jen and, starts chatting her up. And this is my Achilles heel in the woods, like I mentioned before, is other people and stopping and talking to you. Just go on your way. I don't like this thing where I've been approached by too many sketchy people in the woods where it just feels wrong, and I'm way more worried about what they could do. And this setup, this thing with Brad, I wonder
how much it is like when you're in the woods, if you just look like a guy that has beer and weed. You're like, huh? Like, I didn't bring much beer and weed, but this guy.
Do I look like a guy who has a lot of beer and weed?
I mean, maybe that's why people are trying to get so friendly with you.
Let me tell you, the guy I go camping with is the guy with beer and weed, and he definitely looks like it. He listens to the show and he knows what's up. So maybe you're the problem, Adrian. So they have it. So like, Brad has a bunch of fish. He's also like this super machismo like looking guy. He's tall. He's handsome. He's got an Irish accent, and this immediately prompts an argument between Jen and Alex.
Yeah, this is the first movie logic moment.
Yeah,
he comes back and he's like, "Do you think it's a good idea to talk to this person and invite them to sit down?" and have a meal with us?
She's like, that's Eric Balfour, of course. He's from 6 Feet Under.
And it's like, I mean,
yeah,
it'd be one thing if he just said like, hey, I wanted this to be
you and me.
Yeah. Like, I don't want some stranger to be here.
Some extremely hunky dude in here.
That would have been the more obvious argument.
Yeah.
But his argument is, we don't know who this guy is. He could be real dangerous.
But if he had said that to me, I'd be like, yeah.
Right.
I agree. So they make a big deal, and Brad is obviously offended that Alex does not want him here. And so he's like, maybe I'll just bow out. And then both of the campers insist, no, come have dinner with us. It was a misunderstanding. To which he latches onto this word. Oh, there was a misunderstanding. And he shares his fish with them. And then they have a very awkward evening where Brad basically says, look, I know you think I'm a sketchy guy and I don't appreciate that shit. And you know what? Now I am a sketchy guy for you. So here I go. I'm going to walk off into the dark. Bye. After you eaten my fish. Bye.
Well, yeah, it's a real, I'm trying to think of what the comparison movie would be. Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, it's the situation where the visitor is really creepy and steps way over the line in terms of really challenging the manhood and capabilities of Alex.
Yeah, he calls into question all of Alex's knowledge about the woods. He's like, are you sure you know where you're going? Are you sure you don't want a guide? I just happen to be a guide.
And then he's given a lot of glances at the girl. I'm like, you want to be with a real man. Like, I can stick around.
I can stick around, stick it in you too. Yeah, so, he walks off into the dark, which is creepy to me. I didn't like it. And then now...
So you assume at some point this is going to come back.
Right. Oh, yes. Yeah. It just feels like this dude may be walking behind them the whole way.
Right. You think that the menace is going to be this guy because all of a sudden it feels very dangerous.
And now we start into 20 minutes of boring filler. There's just, now we're hiking. We're walking through the woods. And then tonight we're sleeping. And while we sleep, the camera gets to see woods things happening. They're effective things. The night scenes are particularly effective because what are people primordially afraid of? Like the woods at night, sounds. You can't see where the sounds are coming from. And it has all of those. It has all of the little sounds that happen at night. And it's like, that could be.
Yeah. See, that's the thing that really worked about Blair Witch Project for me was those scenes inside the tent to where you're sitting, it's completely dark, and something's scratching on the tent, and you're like, what the fuck could that be? If someone chooses to start fucking with you while you're in a tent, it's this weird world
you as prone as you can be. You are completely laid out, just ready to be torn apart.
Yeah, because you're completely blinded, and it feels like there's this artificial separation, but you also know that there's nothing. It's just a thin sheet of fabric that if someone just laid down on top of it, they could pummel you.
Just a soft taco, man.
Yeah. And those parts reminded me of Blair Witch. Just the camping scenes. I like those. The camera work in this, it wasn't awful, but it was definitely trying to be better than it actually was.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of lingering shots and a lot of we're trying to show you the picturesque quality of these woods, and you're like, yeah, but can you please get on with it?
Yeah, man. There was so now they're hiking through the woods, and man, it just takes forever. They're just hiking and hiking and hiking. And at some point there is a clear spot where Alex takes the path less traveled. Like he's like, we're not going that way, we're going this way. And she's like, this way isn't a thing, that way is a thing. And he's like, yeah, but this way. And she's like, okay. So he starts basically wandering off trail off into the woods. And she trusts him because he has, up until this point, he has made a big deal about how well he knows these woods. And so they're kind of off on their own, off trail, and they're just kind of creeping around. They don't know. at some point at a long distance away we've just covered 30 minutes of the movie. So just FYI, since they met Brad, we're 30 minutes further in. Now they're kind of marching through a corridor in the woods, and Alex feels, oh, okay, this is it. We're about where we want to be, which is a waterfall. We're hiking towards a waterfall. It's going to be picturesque. It's going to be beautiful. They come through, and it's not a waterfall. It's just a vista. And they're like, oh, shit. And now this is kind of where the movie flips a switch and stops being boring and starts being artificially interesting. And they get into a big argument right away. They're like, well, what the fuck? Where are we? And he's like, I don't know. I thought she's like, what do you mean you don't know? And up until this point, it's been very hard to care about their relationship at all. They've been trying to make us care about their relationship, but it's like she's like, you don't cook breakfast for me in the morning. It's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care about your relationship. And now she just blows up with like, I hate you. Yeah. And it feels out of nowhere.
Yeah, she blows up. So this is the first like major point where it's a constructed problem. Yeah. Because they show up, he's described in detail the location that they're hiking to, which is, at top of this kind of precipice, there's these black sands, that open up, and it's beautiful. And then there's this lake that feels completely improbable. Like it shouldn't be there. And so they're hiking up, and what you're expecting as they crest is this beautiful lake vista, and it's just more and more woods. Yeah. And so they get in this argument to where she goes like full nuclear. Yeah. And she's like, you're such a fucking loser. Just not even pulling any punches. Like, this is just like you. You make all the wrong decisions and you're such a loser. And it's like, I was going to propose to you.
I was going to propose to you. And she's like, oh, damn.
And it's such a ridiculous reaction because the answer is just turn around and go back.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a couple different answers, right? It's like, you don't, like, yeah, turn around, go back. Like, you can go find a stream. Like, do any number of things to get yourself out of this situation, but don't yell at each other.
Yeah, and, like, they just came tromping through the woods and breaking sticks and like, doing all this stuff. I mean, I don't even think you have to be, like, an expert tracker to find the only human footprints going back to your previous campsite that has a fire pit. Yeah. I mean, and just keep hiking back. Not really a problem. I don't know.
I think what you may be forgetting here, Bryce, is this is based on a true story.
This is
so this is just, I mean, we didn't write the movie. We just listen to true accounts and then
see. That's the interesting thing about based on a true story is that if you remove the beautiful people from it and replace them with like
homely bitches,
like homely or average to bad looking poor people that have poor communication skills, and are kind of dumb, then yeah, this movie makes a little more sense. Yeah.
What are you saying? I'm gonna read a quick excerpt out of my written review. The fight feels like it erupts out of the blue, which it does. It was decently set up with the campfire banter throughout the movie thus far, but it's just a bit comical how it plays out with high school relationship levels of volatility. Like, she blows up. She's a 30-something-year-old woman, and she blows up like a 14-year-old girl at her 2-week-long boyfriend.
Yeah, it escalated very quickly.
Yeah, and during this fight, it is established that he threw her phone in the car to make sure she couldn't use it throughout the adventure, to which she responds, I haven't reached for it once. That was for an emergency, you dumb bitch. And sure enough, they could be helped by the phone. By the way, if you are ever in the woods and you don't have reception, or you believe you don't have reception, there's a good chance you actually do have emergency services. So, and what that means is if you dial 911, there are a number of different wavelengths, bandwidths that you can get out to 911 emergency services on. So if you ever find yourself in this situation and you have your phone, just dial 911. There's a good chance you'll get through.
Yeah, even if you can't call out, your GPS signal will still be sending out.
Yeah.
They'll still be able to find you.
Yeah.
Off your cell phone.
Yeah, so, take
a cell phone and an extra charger.
Yeah, don't throw your girlfriend's phone in the car because she's on it all the time, even though that bitch shouldn't be on her phone all the time.
So we kind of skipped over a lot of the clues about bears.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
So most of up to this point is them hiking, but there has been like is all their food eaten by the time they get
No, they see the deer the deer carcass that's been eaten. Mm-hmm. They see a snapped twig that,
well, yeah, I mean the first night where they start hearing it, it's this heavy tromping sound with like not just like twigs but like pretty thick branches being broken.
Yeah,
it's like crack, and they're sitting there in the tent and they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it stopped. Who cares?
And he's like, it's just acorns dropping.
Yeah. And he also notices as they're hiking a very fresh bear paw print.
Yeah.
In the mud.
And he doesn't say anything about it.
Doesn't say anything about it.
Yeah. So there have been little tidbits of like, hey, maybe there's a bear out here.
Yeah. And they walk back and they stumble across no, wait. So at what point do they first see the bear?
We're getting there. We're about there. So after they panic, they decide, okay, well, it's time to get going. They hike until evening, then they set up camp, and then they have some champagne that he had saved for his failed proposal.
Uh-huh.
And what little no, I'm sorry. The first night after the argument, he's putting his all their food up in a tree. With the bear hang, and he notices a raccoon off in another tree.
Again, a bear hang.
Yeah, right.
So they're aware of the danger of bears and are mentally and physically prepared for it. Okay.
Yeah, but
proceed.
Well, I mean, a bear hang. You just do that so that like squirrels just can't get in your shit. Yeah. Anyway, that morning they wake up and their food has been eaten. It's easily explained away by him as being the raccoons, which it could have been, but it also very easily could have been the bear that was snooping around their tent last night. Mm-hmm. And then the next night they drink the champagne, and then that morning they wake up and they hear it's around the tent. Mm-hmm. And it's marching around sniffing, and then he opens up the tent and there's the bear, like 20 feet away, 20 to 30 feet away. He's like, he zips the tent back up real quick and he's like, oh shit. She's like, what? He's like, there's a fucking bear out there. And she's like, what do we do? And he's like, where's my hatchet? And he's like, oh damn, it's outside with my bag. And she's like, it's okay, I have this bear mace. And he's like, okay, good. All right. So this bear's like poking around their tent in the morning. It's effective. It's scary. I'm very upset at this point. This is like my worst nightmare. On Reddit, you see these people who post these fucking videos with like gigantic grizzly bears, like with their heads in the tent. And they're like, hey, what's going on? I would shit so hard, there would be no shit left in my body for the rest of my life. I would shit out my intestines and just be like, eat it. I don't know how people do that, but they do. And anyway, so then the bear attack happens. And the bear attack happens with fucking speed lines.
Yeah. I wrote down in my notes, shaky bear.
Oh,
shaky cam bear.
It was the shakiest.
It was the bear bites its way into the tent, and then it pokes its head through, and you get the real sense that it's just the bear is just sitting there like roaring or opening its mouth, and all of the action is just the cameraman just viciously shaking that camera to make it seem like something more is happening.
It looks like a running sequence from an anime.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just like blurry and there's speed lines all over the place. You know, it's like and
yeah, this was the shaky cam. This is another one of those movies that pulls me out with the camera work, because when they're back in the ranger station talking with the ranger, and it's just like a shot of the ranger saying goodbye, but there's all this movement, you know. It should just be a static shot on a tripod of the guy saying, "Have a good time,
bye bye."
But the camera's like, "Ooh, this is a dynamic moment," shaking around like it really feels like someone's holding the camera.
Yeah,
because it's more realistic that way.
Yeah.
So it goes full shaky cam at the bear attack, and you can't really tell what the bear's doing until it has like close-ups on the gore.
Yeah, eventually it ends up getting a hold of Alex, gets him out, well,
he bites his leg. Okay, so listeners, please remember that minutes, like seconds previous, poor man's Hilary Swank was like, "Hey, I got this bear spray. It's right here." Right. So if we can't get the axe, at least we have our bear spray. Bear attack happens. Oh, I just put that bear spray down somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, why wasn't she not holding the bear spray?
And then she gives it a quick spurt, and the bear's like, "No, that's super effective," and it runs away for a minute. And she's like, "Oh, thank God." And then the bear comes back like, "Hey, that wasn't enough. Like, I'm still going to get your guy." And she's like, "I guess the bear spray..." She just gives up for some reason, which is, I mean, Jen's actions, while super annoying, are pretty realistic too. Like failing to use the bear spray that's in her hands while the bear attacks her boyfriend is what I might expect my wife to do in such a situation.
Well, that's just because she has a life insurance policy. Like, no, it does not seem realistic to me that someone they're looking at a bear. They say, "I have this bear spray." They're holding the bear spray, and she waits until it bites a chunk out of his leg, and she panics for like a good 20 Mississippi. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, bear spray." Like, no, bitch, you're holding it.
Yeah.
Like, I
Bryce,
We can't stop here. This is Backcountry.
It's Backcountry. There are different rules out here.
So the bear attacks, she sprays it, and then the bear comes back, drags Alex out of the tent. Oh, it also scrapes her arm too.
Yeah, it gives her a little claws. Gives her a little cut.
And apparently, it's kind of inconsistent because it's like, it's the movie logic of movie injuries. It's only bad when you need it to be.
Right.
Like, the scratch was like it looked like she was bleeding out immediately.
Yeah, I was like, well, she's dead for sure.
And then
she gets out of the tent and she's
like fine.
She's just kind of cradling it a little bit. Like, she didn't forget about it exactly, but
but she didn't do anything to, stop the bleeding or anything.
Right.
So Alex gets dragged out and he just gets mauled like Leonardo.
The bear attack.
DiCaprio.
The bear attack is very realistic once it gets into him being out of the tent, and it's not a super bear with like lasers attached to its butt or something like that. It is just a bear, and it does exactly what a bear attack would look like, which is bears aren't carnivores, they're omnivores, so they don't, and they're so fucking big that they rely on their big to just basically sit on you while they eat you alive. And so it does that. It's very upsetting. I would like to say the
Yeah, the point is it does not kill you before it starts eating you.
Right. It just eats you.
It just
while
like
you're...
starts eating you. It's
yeah.
like, well, here's a chunk of something that I can digest.
Oh, yeah, and it really does a number on Alex. He dies. I would like to say the bear attack in The Revenant is I have both bear attacks on the post for this episode, and they're right next to each other, so go and check it out at horrormovietalk.com. And I mean, this movie, much lower budget than this blockbuster The Revenant, and it did an admirable job for what I assume their budget must be. But The Revenant's, like, if you haven't seen the bear attack from The Revenant, absolutely fucking brutal. Like, it's so, and it's like 3 straight minutes of just hard mauling by a bear. Like, very accurate mauling. Like, it's like it forgets about you a little bit and walks away and then comes back and is just so, it's, you know, we're talking about a 1,500-pound animal.
Right. I remember one of my favorite memories of I don't know what to be a memory of, but did you ever watch the Lewis and Clark Ken Burns documentary?
No. I don't even know who Ken Burns is. I'm sorry, I just don't. People say his name so many times that I just go, it's that guy I don't know.
Oh, well, he makes these he basically created a genre of history documentaries.
Okay.
So it's like lots of voiceover. I mean, you would recognize it if you saw it.
All right.
So he did like baseball. It was like his most famous one back in the day. He did one on, well, he's done one on everything. Anyways, he did a Lewis and Clark thing, and we watched it in school. And the description of them discovering grizzly bears was, if you pull yourself out of it for a minute, like, these are like Europeans, or they're like East Coast people that, you know,
sure,
they know bears exist,
right?
Like, they've seen bears,
yeah,
and then they see a grizzly bear,
yeah,
which is like an otherworldly, like Lovecraftian monster, of epic proportions, and they're like, it's gigantic. We shot it 7 times and it kept running towards us at, 40 miles per hour or whatever. Just like,
they're basically magic. Yeah.
Just the appreciation. I mean, when you think about grizzly bears, you think about like, oh yeah, I've seen pictures and, I've seen them in the zoo or, this Nat Geo docs or whatever. But if you think about, if this was the first time you were ever exposed to a grizzly bear, how surreal and terrifying that would be.
Oh man. I mean, it's a Volkswagen Bug that just has gigantic claws and and can do anything it wants, has no natural predators, has only a desire to, to just eat.
Right.
And it's just a remorseless eating machine. Yeah, I should mention that the bear in this movie is a black bear.
Yeah, that's the other thing. From my understanding, black bears are pretty easy to scare away.
I mean, yeah, so there's a lot of things that work that they set up in this movie that works in favor of this making sense, which is it is late season. All bears at this point are trying really hard to pack on weight, right? So they're more aggressive. It's also like typically this time of year is hunting season, so I mean, it could stand to reason that a bear might be aggressive. A bear during this time of the year might be aggressive towards people. Also,
it's proven itself aggressive towards boats.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also, there is the Yosemite or the Yellowstone bear where, they're just so used to people that they don't fear them and they see them now as especially, and it does set up the fact that their food was eaten before they were. Like, all the options were it was like, oh, hey, look, they got food, and then it eats it, and then it's like, hey, I wonder if those people have more food, and then it gets back there and it's like, no, it's just the people, I guess I'll eat them,
Yeah, I mean, it's a little slightly unbelievable that so before the bear attack,
I believe black bears actually have more attacks on humans per year than grizzly bears, just because they're just because they interface with them more. You know, there are more areas where they're
interesting,
and they're a lot more prolific.
So before they get attacked, they see like the bear nest, and this is the other part that's kind of the believability is a little less for me. They see the bear nest and they're like, oh, well, let's run. Let's run very far away. And I'm not a bear expert, but I don't feel like bears are expert trackers. If you ran away from where a bear is, I don't feel like if the bear's not actively chasing you, it's going to like come after you and hunt you down. Maybe I'm wrong about that, though.
I mean, they have a crazy fucking nose.
Because they hike a whole day.
Yeah.
And then the bear follows them into their camp. So literally the bear was following them the whole time. And
yeah, but
I don't think like bears would they have the patience and stamina to do that. Well, wouldn't they be distracted by some berries or something and be like, oh, well, I can forage around here now?
They might. Exactly. This is a little bit to my point, which is, I mean, yes, you're right. Maybe bears just kind of mosey, you know?
Right.
They are primo mosiers. And so it could just be that he's just walking behind them, just like eating shit, just being like, oh yeah, they're still going this way. And, you know, just eating shit. And, you know, he does not get there until the next morning. It's possible. But side note, I've never seen a bear nest, but I did look them up after this because I was like, bear nest, and yeah, apparently that's a real thing, and it looks pretty accurate to what you see in this movie.
So after the bear attack and after Alex dies, it's a pretty generic like survival tale of her trying to escape.
Now it's just her running.
Yeah, and she's injured, and so yeah, that's. Again, it's a little unclear because the injury only matters when the movie wants it to.
Yeah.
So she seems fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's like, it's been a day or two, maybe.
It's hard to tell at this point because she's kind of in a fever dream. She's like, you know.
Yeah. And all of a sudden she's like close to death. And it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't. I mean, it seems pretty contrived at some points.
Yeah, she runs. She has to climb down a waterfall. Eventually, she finds her way to the canoe, and bear hot on her tail, and she canoes back to the parking lot where Brad awaits, and Brad is readying a search party. And she falls down on the ground, and she's found by the preparing search party and Brad, who she will surely marry following this.
Right.
100%. Brad is going to bang her in remission.
Right.
They're
gonna date for like 2 years, and she's gonna kind of pressure him to propose, and then it's gonna be like an engagement that lasts for 3 years.
Yeah. And she's gonna realize that Brad's just a little bit has too weird of a propensity for violence, and like while his accent is really sexy, it's just not worth it because of the potential beating that could be lurking within inside him. Yeah.
So, yeah, the stuff that bothered me is that not just that they were so prepared and did nothing, the complaint of watching a movie and saying like, oh, that's a plot hole, like why didn't they do this? Like, yeah, I get it, like I can suspend that. What bothers me most is that the writer made such a point and the director made such a point to show how prepared they were.
Maybe it's to drive home the lesson of it doesn't matter how prepared, like you can have all the stuff, but if you're not like well versed in it, like maybe like the training doesn't kick in, like you should be spraying bears every day in preparation.
It'd be so much better. There are movies that do that show like, look, they're prepared. And then the interesting part is showing how that preparation is subverted. Like,
right.
they have an axe, but oops,
that's a good point.
It's outside, or
yeah,
they have bear spray, and
yeah,
even if she shot it or something, or like
what this really boils down to is you really dislike the incompetence of Jen. You don't want Jen to be as incompetent.
No, I dislike
as
the incompetence of the writers of delivering on their setup.
Maybe this is how it happened in real life.
All right.
There's just too many ways to subvert your dislike.
Okay.
I'm gonna say we move on to final recommendations.
Okay.
To me, this is an easy choice for like a Friday night movie at home, snuggled up on the couch with Bryce, poking him with every twig snap. Nothing showy or hard to get into, but it really does tap into a primal fear that is magnified artificially by our distance from nature now. Backcountry is fun, ironically funny, and mostly coherent. So yeah,
this feels like a movie that if it was on cable when you were a kid and you're like flipping through, like you would stop and watch the last half of this.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm not sure if I could recommend you go seek it out. It's all right. There's probably better woods movies. Like
The Revenant is fabulous.
I can think about like wilderness movies that, like, if you haven't seen Deliverance, like before you've seen this movie, definitely watch that one. That one is a great example of like Burt Reynolds is prepared. He is a badass. Everyone knows it, and they're like, well, we'll be safe as long as Burt Reynolds is with us.
They're basically like, he's fucking Burt Reynolds. Are you joking me?
And then he hurts his leg, and then you see how helpless you are in the woods, and it's a very real depiction of you can get, it's very easy to get fucked up in the woods, to where like you can't just walk out. There's no crutches, you know, there's no like even limping out is, you could die, you know. So that's a great one. Like even like the River Wild.
I don't think I've seen that.
That one's a great one. That one's Meryl Streep and Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
Anyways, there's other good, like,
I highly recommend The Revenant
thriller woods movies.
Hey, I had a story that I told you during this movie. I can't remember what it was. Do you remember the story that I told you about?
Yes, I was going to have you tell that. So you were telling a story about, I asked you if you had ever canoed out to a camping space, and you did, and you told the story of your lean-to.
Okay, so so I spent a lot of time in the woods, both for a job and then just camping around, as a kid and then as a young adult as well. And before, when I was like 18 or something like that, me and a buddy we got into some kayaks, and we kayaked across a lake and set up a lean-to on the other side. We didn't have like big kayaks you can't fit much in a kayak anyway. So I think we had like, a backpack, the small backpack, and like our sleeping bags. And so we didn't have a tent, or maybe we did. I can't really recall. We made a lean-to against a tree. There wasn't a lot of spots to sleep, so we just made a lean-to, went to sleep in there. I was having a hard time sleeping, and this was, this wasn't a spot where people normally camp. So this was just out in the woods, like proper. And so it's maybe 11 or 12 at night. My buddy's sawing logs, and I'm sitting there awake, and then like a lot of sound comes into our direct vicinity, and there's things, multiple big things, like right next to me. And so I'm like to my buddy, I'm like, hey man, wake up. And he's like, what? He's very like not waking up at all. He's just doing that very, movie or show-esque thing where it's like, and so I'm like, but hey, listen, there's things around us. And he's like, don't worry about it. And this was during a time, I don't know if anybody remembers, I'm sure some of you do, when there were these cartoons came,
like Flash animation.
Yeah, they were like Flash cartoons, and there was one called the Washington song, and it was about George Washington and how badass he was, and he had like lasers, and it was like Washington.
Here, let's just look it up real quick. I don't know, okay. But you can just look it up on YouTube just look up Washington song. The first result is George Washington. And it should be the right one. Here it is. We don't have to listen to the whole thing.
Washington, 6'8", weighs a fucking ton. Opponents beware. He's coming. Let me lay it on the line. He had 2 on the vine. I mean 2 sets of testicles, so divine. On a horse made of crystal, he patrolled the land with the mason ring and schnauzer in his perfect hands. Here comes George, in control. Women dug his snuff and his gallant stroll.
So my buddy, this was a popular thing at the time.
Yeah, this was like a very, very big meme.
Yeah, and I think it's Cox and Combs. I think that's the maker of this, if you're curious. Anyway, so you may be curious, David, what the fuck does this have to do with your story? So I'm like, buddy, hey, wake up. There's things nearby us. And he's like, go to sleep. I was like, I can't go to sleep. There's fucking gigantic animals right next to us. And he's like, just sing the Washington song. We'll go to sleep. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And he's like, just sing it. Just Washington, 6 foot. And then he falls back to sleep singing the Washington song. I was like, what's happened? Like, I'm like his so I wake him up. I'm like, dude, listen. And sure enough, it's like big things all around us. I was like, they're right next to our head, man. Like, wake up. And he's like, and then finally he kind of wakes up and he's like, oh shit, what is that? He says it out loud. And then like this burst of energy is just like, there's fucking pine needles in my face. There's like clearly things moving right next to me. They're like brushing past us as,
did you feel anything?
Oh, yes. Oh, things were hitting me. You know, it was like pine cones were fucking hitting me in the face and shit. Like there was a lot. And what it turned out was we were in the middle of a large herd of elk that we scared in the middle of the night by him being like, what? Like the Washington song could not console him any longer. And so, but at the time, it was just the most fucking alarming thing that could happen. And so we kayaked back across the lake in the middle of the night, which turned out to be beautiful. But anyway, that's my creepy animal woods story, which turned out to be a bunch of elk, which we probably could have gotten hurt a lot more just by them running than anything else.
Mm-hmm. He's coming.
He is coming. So with that, let's get into taglines. Here's taglines. If you're unfamiliar with taglines, it's a game where we play, where we make up our own taglines for the movies that we watch. And,
you know, I realized after Thanksgiving that as I was like doing the blog post for that, one of my taglines was "Gobble gobble, motherfucker," and that is literally the tagline of the movie.
Oh my god, that was unintentional.
That was unintentional.
Wow, way to go, Bryce!
Yeah.
Gobble glue glue bam bam.
Glue glue bam bam.
Mine are pretty bad for this one. So you guys, I hope you like to cringe because here we go. Backcountry taglines.
Don't oversell it.
All right. So Backcountry. The answer to the age-old question, does a bear shit in the woods? This one shits in your skull.
All right.
What did I say? I told you not to expect.
Well, you've already stolen my first one.
Really?
Backcountry.
Wait! We can't stop here. This is Backcountry.
This is Backcountry. Yeah, if you guys are wondering, that is from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. He says Bat Country, but we're talking about Backcountry.
It was Johnny Depp when he was still good.
Okay, so now this tagline is really more of a joke, so I'm going to need you to interact with me a little bit.
Okay.
Hey, Bryce, what kind of jacket do you wear on a hike?
Layered.
No, just say what?
What?
Trailblazer.
Okay.
Hey, did you get it?
Backcountry.
Question. What kind of bear is best?
That's a ridiculous question.
False. Black bear.
Well, that's debatable.
Well, that's debatable. Backcountry. Sleeping bags are the soft tacos of the bear world.
Backcountry.
Wow, you're not giving me fucking anything here.
Yeah. Well, you're not leaning into it at all either.
You're a dick.
All right, sorry. Here, say it again. I'll have a...
Sleeping bags are the soft tacos of the bear world. Great. Okay. Yeah, that was awesome.
Backcountry. Smokey's Revenge.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah, it was.
Bravo!
All right,
well done.
That was you. See, you gave it exactly what it deserved, and I appreciate that.
Oh, okay. I stole this from Ellen DeGeneres.
Okay.
But you didn't expect that. Never follow someone else's path unless you're in the woods and you're lost and you see a path. By all means, you should follow that.
That's pretty good.
This thing where they're like, we got a blazer on trail. It's like, no, you don't. You really should stay on the path.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even like the Indians used like the deer trails. Like another animal already like made it a lot easier for us to find just the most important places to go.
Don't wander off. Just follow the trail, you dummy.
Okay, I got one last one. Backcountry. You've seen grizzlies, you've seen black bears and polar bears. Now meet the scariest bear of all, Shaky Cam Bear.
Shaky Bear. Dude, he was so good. He really was an anime bear. He was like with the speed lines. Yeah, so that's most of our episode. All we got now is the outro. Thank you all for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe to us and leave us a review on Apple.
Or just a rating. It's fine,
podcast.
Too. You don't have to write anything. Just leave that star rating.
Yeah, that's what I said. Make sure to share it with a friend. That's another way probably the best way that we grow. If you, share this post on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is. That helps us out a lot, too. Make sure to support the show by becoming a patron for special exclusive horror movie talk content that we produce. Right after this, we're going to do an afterpod, and you don't get to listen to it unless you're a patron. And so make sure and head on over there. Also, you can support us by clicking through the link at the top of our website that says buy stuff on Amazon. You buy stuff on Amazon, and then a little fraction of that, not insubstantial, enough to make a difference, comes to our pocket, and that'll help us out a lot. Again, special thanks to Stephen M. I appreciate you and all of the feedback that you give us. For everyone else, listen, we really like it when you reach out to us, talk to us. It's been a nice week because Spotify released their personal, like how much you've listened. And a bunch of you have given us like, Magnus in Sweden, he was like, hey, check it out. I listened to you more than anyone else. Like 4,000 minutes.
Magnus... His was like 7,000 minutes.
I was like, I didn't know we recorded that much.
We didn't.
Okay.
We only recorded 4,000. He's listened to every episode twice, apparently.
The dude's a badass. A badass.
And our looking at, so the listeners on Spotify, they have their stats where it shows, here are your top 5 podcasts. It probably has like top 5 artists that you listen to and stuff. And it tells you how long you've listened to it. For the podcasters, it has the same thing, and it gives you a bunch of stats of, you know, this is how many listens you've got. This is like where your listeners are.
Yeah. And
it gives our top countries that listened. And ours are number 1, the U.S.
America.
Number 2 is the UK. 3 is Canada. And 4 is Sweden. And I'm confident that well over half of those listens in Sweden are from Magnus.
Yeah. It's great. We appreciate everybody who's listening to us. We certainly appreciate you wherever you are. But impressive faraway places are super cool. So, you know, I don't know. Thank you guys for listening. You know, and we'll see you next week. What are we doing next? Are we doing Black Christmas next week?
Yeah, the new Black Christmas remake comes out this next week, so we will be reviewing it and dropping that on Wednesday.
So check it out or wait for our review. And with that, you guys have an excellent week. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What is it that you want?
If you really want to do something for me, then stop making this scene right now.
Oh, God, I can't do this.
I'm leaving. I've assessed the situation, and I'm going.